The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Everyone, get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Tech. I am Garrett Weinzerl, joined as always by Jocelyn Carney. How are you doing on this Battlegrounds heavy day, Joss?
I'm doing okay.
Is life a battleground?
I am glad to be here talking about Hearthstone. I actually played quite a lot of Battlegrounds today, so I'm stoked to talk about it.
Rad. I have as well, and miraculously, I have broken the streak of every time a new hero being added to Battlegrounds, me not getting it for basically a month. I have played all three new heroes,
nice. Me
and
too.
I have played stupid amount of games with the new minion, probably to my detriment, if I'm to be honest. I actually really like the new minion, but we'll have much to say about that in just a moment. But welcome to the show, everybody. Yeah, I've played actually just a lot of just Hearthstone in general. Usually I kind of lean one direction or the other, either ladder or Battlegrounds in any given week. And by any given week, I mean Wednesday to Wednesday, attack week, as we like to call it here. It's a unit of measurement for a calendar. And but this week it was like about the most like even mix of ladder and Battlegrounds I think I've had since Battlegrounds was introduced. And I think I was finally ready for it because I tried it, a little bit back in the day when Battlegrounds was new, and it was like too much of a brain shift, man. It's going from, how Battlegrounds plays and how that functions and the part of my brain that needs to be on and ready and working to play that game mode and then trying to go back to ladder. It was the first few times it was rough. But this week, man, it just felt like I was just playing two different games. Like when I stop Hearthstone and go over to WoW or Heroes of the Storm. I've reached that point, Joss.
That's awesome.
Some might say.
I've always been able to flip between them pretty easily. I really liked Battlegrounds as a break from ladder when I would get to not necessarily tilted, but like anxious about my rank. Then I'd be like, I'll just go over to Battlegrounds. I don't really care about my Battlegrounds rank. And now I'm like pushing up over 6,500, and I'm like, I'm starting to care a little bit. Damn it!
I almost crested 7,000 today, and
nice.
Didn't. Emphasis on the didn't. Today was rough.
But you got close.
Yesterday and the day before, I had some of the most consistently great Battlegrounds games, like back to back I've had in a very long time. I got so many second places to Murloc drafts, which I just started getting salty about getting second place to Murlocs. That was my salt instead of like 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th place finishes. But yeah, seriously, let's do something about Murlocs, which they didn't. So we'll see. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of it. But before we get into the meat of today's show, which is going to be going over the Battlegrounds patch, I want to thank those of you supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC is the opt-in way to subscribe to the Angry Chicken with whatever amount you would like. You get to decide. You want to give $1 a show, $2 a show, whatever works for you. Check it out, patreon.com/TAC, because you're going to get perks like access to our Discord, an ad-free RSS feed where you're going to automatically get new episodes of the Angry Chicken without ads, and some other perks as well. So we would like to thank some of our newer patrons. So thank you so much to Austin Sippos, Raglamar, and Andrew Teksinski. Thank you very much for becoming patrons. I also wanted to give a shout out to Matthew Marcy and Dave Schultz for upping their pledges since the last episode of The Angry Chicken. I believe they both doubled their pledges. So thank you very much, you two. It's very kind. Means a lot, especially right now. Things are a little nutty. So thank you very, 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 very much. You know what else means a lot, Jocelyn, is when guests that I really enjoy having on the show agreed to come back on the show, especially since the last time they were on the show, I wasn't. And if you're not an expert of guests on the Angry Chicken, then let me spell it out for you. Jonathan Vigil will be rejoining us next week for episode 366 of the Angry Chicken. He and I have been going back and forth trying to find a day that works. And, he's just been a little busy being an awesome rock star with a new album coming out, and they dropped a new single today. So we'll see him next week.
I'm stoked. I love when Vigil's on the show.
He's so much fun to talk to. I really dig it. Been hanging out in the stream a little bit. And not just because I mistakenly thought I could get a Valorant key by watching his stream.
Busted.
He was the one who busted me. I was just hanging out watching him play Valorant. This is a while ago, obviously. And he was like, yeah, man, if you're here for keys, I'm not getting any. So tune in for that next week. But for now, let's get to it. The big stuff to talk about this week, which means we're kicking it off with Battlegrounds.
Have a good battle, friend.
I will have a good battle because patch 17.2 is here. It landed yesterday. The days of the week are really starting to blend together. Yes, I know.
Oh my God, so much.
I already work from home, but seriously,
it's because everything else is canceled, so you don't have anything like marking the days of the week anymore.
Nope. And so I guess I'm marking it with patch days, which are usually Tuesday. So, but not always. Sometimes it's Thursdays for some reason. I can't. Basically,
it doesn't help matters.
No, it doesn't. But 17.2 dropped yesterday, and the big bulk of this patch is a sizable update to Battlegrounds. So first up, on the subject of minions, we all need to pour one out, but like not anything really nice. Maybe like a juice box or some poorly mixed Kool-Aid, because Direwolf Alpha is leaving, and I don't think anyone will notice.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad tavern offering if I ever picked Direwolf Alpha. Like, some things went wrong.
Yeah, if I were to eulogize Direwolf Alpha, I would say we've all been forced to be there.
Oh, poor Direwolf Alpha.
Direwolf Alpha.
Remember when he was like the core of zoo decks and aggro decks alike, and everyone loved him, and then, we got expansions.
Yeah. But I don't remember when he was ever the core of anything in Battlegrounds.
No, not at all. Just, I guess he had his day, but that day was not a Battleground day.
Direwolf Alpha. Sometimes I would pick you over Tidecaller.
Oh, it's so true. Poor guy. Poor little guy.
Yeah, but make way for a much more exciting Tier 1 minion. We are getting the Rabid Soralisk, a Tier 1 beast with 3 attack and 1 health. So not going to hold up very well to those early game token purchases, but can very quickly get out of that 1 health range, because it reads, after you play a minion with Death Rattle, gain +1/+1. The golden version is a 6/2 that gains +2/+2 after you play a Death Rattle minion. And I am smitten, Jocelyn.
I tried this minion a couple of times, and it's like I wanted it to work, but I could never really get it to work.
Okay. So I had a very specific experience since the patch yesterday. I have gotten probably, I think in the last 24 hours and change, I have doubled the amount of Dance and Daryl games that I have played over the entire course of Battlegrounds existence. I have gotten Daryl offered to me so many freaking times. And if you are a fan of HS Replay like we are, you know, if you go over and look at their stats, that Dancing Daryl, ever since Millhouse got nerfed, has been the number one hero, which means I pick him every time because I'm soulless and I just want to win and get my MMR up. I don't actually care about having fun. This minion is insane with Dancing Daryl because you're constantly buying everything and then reselling it. So even if it doesn't matter if you are making a good Death Rattle comp or not, you're likely buying every damn Death Rattle minion you come across once you're past tier 4 to do your dance. So
yeah,
why not have a Sorlist? Not to mention that all of the best tier 2 minions are Death Rattle minions, even if you're not Dancing Daryl. You're going to be drafting the Spawn of the Zoth. Is it Kaboombot? I always forget the bomb one.
Yeah, Kaboombot.
It's Kaboombot.
And then,
okay.
yeah.
I just call him the...
And Rat Pack, obviously.
The bomb. And Rat Pack, yes. You're always... That's what you want. If things are going well for you at tier 2, those are the minions you're drafting Death Rattle minions. So Rabid Sorlisk can be really good, which my kind of gut reaction was, did tier 2 Death Rattle really need like an upside? But it's a little, you're probably going to lose your first 2 rounds if you draft Rabid Sorlisk, hoping that you're going to be drafting into Death Rattle minions once you tavern up to 2, right? Because it's a 3-1. It's going to die to literally anything anyone drafts. It loses.
And I mean, the flip side of that too is that because, and at least in my experience, this is why I had not so great games with him, is because those tier 2 minions that you talked about are just kind of the objective best of the tier, which means I was finding it really hard to find them. Like I had so many rounds today where I just could not even get my hands on a spawn, and I'd have, you know, a Rat Pack or, you know, a Kaboombot. And Kaboombot I think is the best just on his own, but it, like, if you can't get a spawn, Rat Pack is not that great if you can't buff him up in any way, shape, or form. So, which you can't even do now that the Direwolf is gone, right? Like, that could be, oh my god, I gotta do something. I guess I'll take Direwolf to get another token off my little Rat Pack dude, but...
Well, we still have Fiendish Servant, which works really well with Rat Pack in the early game, and Rat Pack is still, I believe, statistically. HS Replay has been.
Rat Pack is still gross.
Yeah,
I think
just number one.
Yeah,
at that stage of the game, just the best, like hands down. So. But
I think a lot of people are going for those, so it's not like every single time that I, you know, re-rolled my tavern or had minions offered to me that there were Death Rattles available. So I kind of like, I went in and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try the new minion, it's gonna be so cool, and then I was like, oh man, I got it up to like 3 health.
my best games with it have been games where I have drafted it after turn 1. It's a little hard to do right now because I think a lot of people are just trying to try it out, see what they can make happen with it. But like, this is a bad tier 1 draft. So, but I had like was it a Rafam game? I think it was a Rafam game where I wasn't taverning up to 2 on turn 2 anyway because I'm Rafam. And so, like, I grabbed a Sorlisk on turn 2, and then I found, like, a second Sorlisk, and I just went on a Death Rattle Bender, because these things were growing in Unity, and they just got huge. I think I also I think I had a double Sorlisk game with Daryl, and that was one of the easiest second places I ever got. Still couldn't beat Poisonous Murlocs because, what are you going to do when someone blindly drafts Murlocs and it just works out for them?
Yeah, I've seen so many people going Murlocs today. I tried it once and I totally screwed it up like halfway through because I had my 6-tier Discover and I had the Murloc offered to me, the 8/4 shield guy, and also the Megasaur, and I had a board full of Murlocs. Like, I should have gone Megasaur, but I just like snap picked the Murloc, and I was like, as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, there was a Megasaur there. Damn it. And then sure enough, I never had anything with Divine Shield or another Megasaur offered to me, and I was like, just son of a bitch.
I would berate you.
Stupid Murloc.
But I have been there. It's like a gut react because Murlocs never works out for me. Murlocs never works out for me. I never get it. So when I do see Megasaur, I'm not Murloc, so I skip it. My like gut physical just reflex is to go for the Mackerel because it's just worth it. Even if I don't currently have Divine Shields, it's like, well, I guess I'm gonna pick one up and make this work because it's totally worth it.
Where's that little 2/1 dragon dude?
Exactly. Love me, the Bronze Warden. Love it. How can I not remember Kaboom Bot, but I can remember Bronze Warden? I don't know. Yes, I am the reverse grip, Hemwick. Like, I will not draft Murlocs. It never works out. So, anyways, really like Rabid Sarlisk. I, at the moment, would not recommend drafting it on turn 1, but after that point, go nuts. Like, win your first couple of turns, or at least set yourself up for the best chance of it, and then start grabbing these guys up, because they grow very consistently. There's just enough. I think there's enough Death Rattle minions at the end of the day. And you want to be drafting them. Really dig it.
Yeah, I think my mistake too was that I didn't really choose a comp. I was like, oh, I'll try Death Rattle comp, but that's not very strong. So I think like you should be trying to buy Death Rattle minions, but not build a comp around it. Like still be using the Death Rattles to put a body on board and buff your Sarlisk, but then, don't be afraid to cycle them out and pick something actually functional.
Yeah. But it wasn't just the new Rabid Sarlisk that we're excited about. We got new heroes, and they're all Outland themed. Like, some of the most famous faces and personalities of Outland are joining us in Hearthstone Battlegrounds, starting with Lady Vosh. And actually, first off, we should probably talk about how this plays into the perk system. I almost forgot.
Right. Yes.
I almost forgot because I have perks, so it don't even think about it. But if you have the Battlegrounds perk, so if you shelled out the 1999 or whatever it is, being in gold, you now can play these heroes. But if you don't have the Battlegrounds perks, you don't.
Yeah, I think you have to wait 2 weeks before they unlock.
Yeah, unlocks on May 26th.
Yeah, so those of us with the Battlegrounds pass and all your perks unlocked, then you get to play with them now. It's like a 2-week exclusivity window.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like soft early access. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except I think I'm 99% sure that Sir Finley, if you choose Finley, he has access to all hero powers. So you could, in a way, play these heroes if you get Finley and then get offered so there's multiple levels of, having to being offered the perfect thing. But I do believe Sir Finley can choose one of these hero powers.
Yeah, I know Finley can. I would assume that would work if you don't have the perks, because that seems like it would be a pain in the ass to code, but I can't confirm. But I did go up against a Finley who was a Kael'thas.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure. I'm going to check real quick, but I'm 99% sure.
It's a pretty minor thing. Where would you check? I feel like they wouldn't spell that out somewhere. So, but yeah, how do you feel about it though? Do you care? Do you feel like you're getting something extra?
I knew I had seen a message about this. Yes, they do. Yes.
Right.
So
I like
Sir
that.
Finley can, whether you have the perks or not, Sir Finley can access these hero powers. So again, you still have to be offered Sir Finley and then also offered one of these hero powers, but it's kind of a roundabout way to give him a shot. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you feel like you're getting something special as someone with the pass, or do you care?
So far, I haven't really, I think Kael'thas is probably the best of the three, but they're not game breaking. They seem fairly balanced. They fit into the heroes that we already have quite well. So it's not like I feel like I'm getting something above and beyond, an auto win pass or anything like that. I have been offered, I think I've played Lady Vaj twice, Maiev once, and Kael'thas twice, I think, today.
Nice. So we both got a chance to play him.
Oh yeah. No, I have played all three. But none of them were Deathwing when he was first released, sort of thing. They're very much in line with everything we've got right now. So, if you get them, great. But if you don't, then it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was a perk of the pass, but the pass is really binary. You either have it or you don't, and you get all the perks or you don't. So I mean, I don't know, if you feel bummed out that you don't have the pass and you don't have access to the 3 new heroes. I get it. You already only have 2 possible options. Your chances of even getting the new heroes in the first place is really low. But that's about as far as my feelings go. I don't have particularly strong feelings, especially as someone who's just gonna buy the pass every time. So, but let's talk about the heroes. Lady Vash's hero power is called Evolving Electricity. It's a passive hero power that reads, after you upgrade Bob's Tavern, replace his minions with ones of a higher tier. And I definitely misunderstood how this worked.
Me too, because I assumed that it would replace all the minions with minions of a higher tier than what you had just tiered up to. So I thought like when I went to 2, it would replace my tavern with 3 minions, like tier 3 minions. And then when I went to 3, it would replace my whole tavern with 4 minions. And I was just like, when that didn't happen, I was like, what is going on? And then I was like, oh, it just increases each tier by 1. I don't think it's very strong. I didn't have a lot of luck with it. I really tried to manipulate it the second time that I played. Like I froze things I wouldn't have otherwise frozen because I just wanted them for the fact that they were the highest tier minions that were available to me. And I knew that I was going to be upgrading next turn, but I think that because they're random. So I found that every time I upgraded the minions that I was offered, I was just like, oh man, I don't want any of these anyways. And it's like, that's my hero power. Like that's what I do. But because she doesn't give them any kind of buff or anything else, I was just like, man, I was just falling behind with her all the time.
I share a lot of your same feelings. I think this is of the 3 might be the weakest. There's a clear winner in my mind. But yeah, the first time I played Lady Vash, when I taverned up, well, I guess that would have been true every single time. Never mind. When you taverned up to 2, your only option is going to be tier 1 minions, right? So I taverned up and everything was 2-star like immediately, whatever minions were left. Because, by the way, it doesn't refill. If you bought a minion and then you tavern up, you don't get an extra minion. Like if there are only 3 minions,
yeah, it's not a refresh
in Bob's Tavern, and you tavern up, you only re-roll 3 minions.
Yeah,
it doesn't add
and
more.
They only go up to the tier that you just leveled to. Like you can't, you don't have a 3 and have a chance to roll a 6. Like if you have a 3 and you upgrade the tavern, it goes to 4.
Yes.
Like it doesn't do any crazy big. There's no potential super high roll. It's just like you immediately get access to minions of that higher tavern tier that you just leveled to. So yeah, it was a lot. It didn't work the way I thought it worked. And then once I realized how it did work, I was like, I can't manipulate this to actually be like impact my game in any real meaningful way.
Right. Yeah, this is what I was trying to explain is like, I didn't even get it the first time I used the damn hero power because the first time you use it, you're always going to have 1-star minions. So you're going to use it. So you're always going to get an entire board of 2-star minions. So my brain went, okay, so it's not a tavern above. It's whatever you just re-rolled to. And then when I taverned up to tier 3, I had a mix of tier 1 and 2 minions, and the 1-stars went the 2-stars and the 2-stars went the 3. And I was like, what the shit?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was how it worked. So
which then gets worse and worse as you get more and more minions in your tavern and as you've leveled up to more and more tiers, because that means that you have a chance to later on in the game have, 1 and 2-star minions when you level up to like 5 and 6, and they only roll up to 2 and 3. They don't roll up to 5 and 6.
Yeah,
so
there's like
you have to be very careful when you like tavern up to get the most out of it, and even then, like the most is not very much.
Yeah, I mean, there's outliers, right? Like if you're looking for a 2 or a 3 or 4 for a triple for a minion that's actually good, then you can kind of target that if there's a minion or multiple minions.
But even then, like
below. Right. No, but so it is very interesting because the way that you start to think about the game, like it completely changes the way you think about your reroll strategy, because so much of our so often we are locked into the mindset of, oh, I found a triple. Am I going to tavern up next turn? I'll just freeze it. I'll wait till next turn. I'll tavern up. I'll buy the minion, get the triple into something from a tier even higher. And then that like goes all out the freaking window when you're playing Bosch. Because you have to think about, do I even want to buy a minion? Because if I buy a minion and I'm taverning up this tier, well, then I'm going to have 1 less minion that re-rolls. But it's a triple and I need it now, because if I tavern up, it's going to go away and I'm not going to get the triple unless one of the other lower tier minions happens to randomly roll into it. So like that was the one that was to me the biggest bummer. I think everything else is like, it's certainly lower on the power scale, but it's really cool. And I like how it alters the way I think about the game. But the bummer came when I found a triple on the turn. I like needed to tavern up or I was going to fall behind and die horribly. And it was just like, I have to buy this mini now because I need to tavern up. So I need to tavern up and actually get even less power out of what I think is not a particularly powerful hero power. So that to me was the major bummer. Everything else is like, yeah, it's low power. And there's plenty of hero powers that are low power that I just enjoy. And I do kind of enjoy this one. I think it's really cool and interesting.
I do like that it had me thinking about not necessarily just the minions that were available to me in my tavern tier, but what their tavern tier was, like how many stars they were worth. It's like I stopped seeing minions and all I saw was stars, which was definitely an interesting way to start thinking about the game. It made me do something I wouldn't necessarily normally do. I think maybe Malagos is probably the closest one that made me kind of view the minions that way. And it's definitely different and makes you kind of like have to remember what your hero power is because it is a different way of thinking about the game. And I always screw up with Malagos for the first couple turns because I forget that like I can target my own stuff. I should, instead of just like re-rolling, I should be seeing if there's something I can re-roll as his hero power first. Like it's a totally different way of thinking about the game and you have to make sure you're in the right headspace. And I do like that. But I think she's power level wise, she's a little bit low. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some kind of change to her. I don't necessarily want her to work the way I initially, I guess, read her hero power or interpreted her hero power, because I think if she had the ability to roll to, that or higher and get those super crazy high rolls where you would see like a level 6 when you were at Tavern 2 or something, like that would be, I think, game breaking. But I do want it to somehow be a little bit more powerful. Even if it was like it re-rolls all your minions and gives them +1/+1 or something, like some amount of extra, because right now it just, most of the time I felt like I wasn't even, and I didn't even end up buying the minions that I was offered. So.
Yeah. My first like roll to tier 2 was amazing because I got a rat pack and a kaboom bot in the tavern up, and I was like, freeze, buying it next turn. It was amazing, but like beyond that, it was super inconsistent. So yeah, it feels a little low power. We'll see where the stats land, but Vash to me seems like going to be on the lower end of the tiers. But let's move on and talk about Maiev, because Maiev Shadow Song is the second of the 3 new heroes we're getting, and Maiev's hero power is Imprison. It's going to cost you 1 gold to use it, and it reads, make a minion in Bob's Tavern dormant. After 2 turns, get it with +1/+1. This one is also deeper than it initially sounds. So you're essentially getting a minion for 1 gold with a +1/+1 buff, with the downside of you have to wait 2 full turns before you can actually get it, but you are getting a 2 gold discount with a buff. The other part about this,
like, you don't have to freeze it, which was something that I was like, wait, how does this actually work? Does it? And so it takes up a spot on your board. It counts as one of your minions, but you don't have to worry about like keeping your board frozen or anything like
Bob's
that.
Bob's board, not your board.
Sorry, Bob's board.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean.
The tavern.
The tavern, yeah. You don't have to worry. Like, it will just stay there and wait for you until all of a sudden it just pops into your hand after 2 turns, which at first I didn't kind of realize that's what it did. Like, I knew that I would get it, but for some reason I thought it would just like pop onto my board or something. So it popped into my hand and I was like alt-tabbed out, and I was just like, I came back to Hearthstone. I was like, hey, where did my high main go? God damn it.
I love that you assumed this worked in the worst possible way it could have. If you had to freeze, this would be unplayable. And if it went to your board, that would also be unplayable. Like, all the battle cry minions go out the door, and what the shit happens if you have 7 minions?
I know. So I'm aware that
really important like caveat to this, which is it again, takes up a minion slot on Bob's board.
Yes.
So yes, it does persist even through a reroll to the next turn, but it takes up a slot for a minion. It's not so, and it's sitting there for 2 turns.
Yeah.
So it's something you need to keep in mind as well, because you're going to be missing out on one more potential roll of a minion.
Yeah. You have less options, which is rough.
Re-rolling or for one full just natural reroll by waiting turns. So this is another one that is like way more complex than it sounds. Like when I first read it, I was just like, huh, what do you mean get it? And it's like, oh, you just get it. So like you're getting a minion for gold, but you have to wait forever to get it. But I kind of like this one. I like this one quite a bit. And this one was like the opposite of the triple feels bad. This was kind of a triple feels good, because how many times, Jocelyn, have you been like, oh, I got so lucky. I re-rolled and there's 2 of a kind and I already have one of that minion, but I don't have enough gold to buy them both right now. And I would kind of rather wait to tier up to actually find the triple. This is a little too early for that triple. Well, you know what? Maybe in 2 turns, it's the perfect time to get this triple, and I might as well add a +1/+1 to this for my trouble. That's exactly what you can do with this. I love it.
Yeah, it is a little bit more strategic. I only got a chance to play with her once, and I didn't quite, I couldn't quite wrap my head around her at first, because it felt like I wasn't necessarily, I guess I wasn't thinking ahead far enough. And, by the time I kind of got a hang of it, then I was like, well, I've got a ton of gold. Like I'm all the way at 10 gold now. +1/+1 isn't what it was early on in the game. And yeah, so I feel like if I got her again, I think I would have a better time of it. But she, again, is another hero that makes you think differently about the game that you're playing, which I think makes her super interesting. I think she has the potential to be really powerful. Just because you're getting, like, if nothing else, you're getting a body for 1 gold, right? So
yeah, and it's a pretty strong way to use that straggling gold, which it's not great when you're floating a gold. But sometimes you do get into that scenario, so it's a nice extra thing you can do. But I really like its potential for saving a triple for 2 more turns when you would want to tavern up, or when you even have the gold to tavern up. I like this one quite a bit. It's tricky. This is the kind of one where I feel like we might land on a kind of a best practices on our on maybe Maya levels up slightly slower than other heroes. Maybe she levels up quicker. I don't know. But this is the one where it's like I think we can tune this hero like ourselves. We're gonna tune how we play Maiev and the tempo at which we draft with Maiev. Which that's when I get kind of excited. Like Daryl, there's a very clear plan that we all kind of agree on. There's a little bit of variance on how quickly you go up to tier 4, but we pretty much all agree, like, you get to 4, you do your dance.
Yeah.
We kind of all figured out just staying on 3 doesn't quite cut it anymore. I like that. I like that there's heroes like that, and I like that there's heroes that are not like that at all, and they're completely improvisational and everything in between. So I like Maiev. And then finally, couldn't be more stoked about this one. Kael'thas Sunstrider has joined Battlegrounds with a passive hero power named Verdant Spheres, because of course, what the hell else would he have?
Exactly.
Sunfire enchantment? Actually, I love that talent in Heroes of the Storm. But Verdant Spheres is a passive hero power that reads every 3rd minion you buy gains +2/+2. This shit is bananas.
Yeah, he's quite powerful. And I wasn't really sure how they were going to track this, but of course they made 3 green balls that just light up as, you're going to be, or like as you're buying minions. And then it's very easy to tell which one is going to be buffed. And then, you pull it into your hand and it's got this cool 3 green ball swirly animation that then goes and buffs the minion in your hand. So it's pretty well designed. I like it a lot. It's powerful for sure. You're basically being rewarded with +2/+2 for doing what you would be doing in the game anyway. So you don't really have to do any. It's a lot like Nosdormu in that way, where it's like you're refreshing anyways. Just, you get a free one with him. It's like this guy, like you're buying minions anyways. Well, you get a free buff every 3rd minion. So yeah, it works really well. It's powerful. I played him a couple times, and he is definitely the easiest to manage of the 3. He's the most straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh god, when a Rat Pack gets to be the third minion you buy.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so freaking good. It just works. Like, this makes sense. You kind of already understand how to game it. Again, I think this is the type of hero that we are going to find ways to alter the tempo of how quickly we level up and whatnot to sync up some of our third purchases in targeted areas. But this one just works. This is the one that on paper, when I saw this announcement, was like, ooh, I think this might be the most powerful. And having played all three of them certainly feels the most powerful to me. And also with you, hat tip to the interface designers, because the three glowing actual Verdant Spheres being a UI element to keep track of, if you're on your third minion or not, that looks great. I wasn't expecting it. I haven't really seen anything like that in Hearthstone's UI before. I really dig it.
Yeah, the only other thing that we've seen would be, I would say, is it Shinvala, the mage minion, that as you, is it play elementals or cast spells, or maybe it's cast spells, has those like three little like ticks underneath, or like little crystal triangle looking things underneath the minion on the board. That's, I think, the closest I can think of a tracking thing. And Triago in the chat room is asking, do the spheres track across turns or does it have to be one turn? It does track across turns. So it's just the third minion you buy, regardless of what turn that happens on. It's just like every third minion, like buff.
So of the three, like Maya of Shadow Song kind of just works the way you would expect. It kind of works the best way it possibly could work. Kael'thas works the best way it could possibly work. Lady Vosh kind of works the worst way it could possibly work. In my mind, in reading it, like Kael'thas's was like the most straightforward without a doubt. While reading it, I just assumed like it has to persist between turns, otherwise this would be kind of booty. This wouldn't be the best hero power. But yeah.
Chat room is telling us all the different places in the UI that we've had trackers like this before. Dragon Soul Weapon, shares in Corpse Flower. Yeah.
Those are very small and tiny though. These are I'm going to say it. Big balls.
Big balls. Huge balls.
Kael'thas has some big balls and 3 of them.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm going to go with that as a liability. It seems like it would be a detriment in a street fight, Well, they do disappear, right, after the third minion, so... No, they just stop glowing.
Oh, okay.
We need to pull out of this nosedive. So, all in all, I think a rather phenomenal Battlegrounds update. I will say, a little light. I was expecting
smaller than I was expecting for sure.
Yeah, a lot smaller than Kael'thas's balls. With Ixar's comments after the Dragon update saying to expect updates of that size around expansions, this isn't even close to that.
Which makes me think that there's got to be something else in the works, right? Like
maybe
I guess they were trying to.
I read into that as like they will be this size and at once, like the Dragon update. But I wouldn't be against them breaking stuff up.
Yeah, I think we talked about back, I guess, around the time that Battlegrounds launched that you kind of need updates to be happening quite often so that the mode doesn't get stale. And I think that this feels like at least one of the longest points of time in Battlegrounds where we've, had the same sort of stuff, and nothing that was really introduced in this update, whether it be the minion or the 3 heroes or the removal of Direwolf, like none of them are nearly as impactful as dragons, right? So I feel like if they needed to break up the bigger update in order to keep things fresh by like giving us like kind of like trickling out updates over like every 2 to 3 weeks, then I'm totally cool with that too. We'll just have to see what they've got in store, but I would be really surprised if we go another like 6 weeks without, seeing something big in Battlegrounds. Cause you're right. Like this did seem quite small and took quite a while to get to us. So.
Yeah. So, which I'd be fine with. This was the longest lull we've had with Battlegrounds. So, a few more kind of modest sized updates, little more spread out, I think would go a long way to keep Battlegrounds interesting. So hopefully that ends up being the case. But anyways, I'm sure we'll talk more about Battlegrounds and how the meta is unfolding. We'll definitely do a check-in next week once we see some statistics from our friends over at HS Replay. But until then, that brings us to the end of this Battlegrounds discussion. Before we move into this week's Hearthstone news that is not Battlegrounds related, we want to thank today's sponsor, Honey. Honey is back sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. It is a free browser extension that saves you money that you can get for free right now over at joinhoney.com/TAC. If you go to that URL, you're going to support us in the process on top of saving money. Why wouldn't you want to save money? I'm a big fan of Honey. You use Honey, Joce, you shop for some things. Does it automatically find you coupon codes?
It does, even though I'm in Canada, which is great.
Are Canadian coupons different? Is it like Canadian money? I know our friend Scott thinks there's holes in it. There isn't, although some of it does have like a smaller circle inset within the... do Canadian coupons have holes in them?
They don't have holes in them unless you mean, do coupons in general have loopholes, which normally the loophole is does not apply in Canada. But Honey does.
Honey is already aware of where you are and finds you coupons that work where you live.
Exactly.
Which is nice. I mean, I've been spending so much time shopping online more than usual, which basically means weekends instead of just weekdays. It's tax return season. I've been looking at shoes again, and Honey's like, well, you could save like $7 over on these from Aldo. I'm a big Aldo fan, Joss. Or you can, hey, you're shopping for Chucks. I mean, they're maybe not the most expensive shoe in the world, but why spend more when you don't have to? Here's like $8 off over here. And I'm just sitting here going, which one do I want? I found coupons for both, depending on which vendor I'm shopping with.
You just get both. You get both.
Yes.
That's the answer.
And it's just always running in the background. Like I honestly forget about it because it's not intrusive at all. And then I go to check out and it pops up and it's like, yo, I found you a coupon. How would you like...
Have some free money.
Yeah, you're going to buy this? Well, you don't have to spend that much. Here's automatically X amount of dollars off. I really like it. And again, it installs in seconds. You can get it for free. Just go to joinhoney.com/TAC. I think I'm approaching like the $50 mark on money that Honey has saved me. Since I installed it. It's pretty rad. So go check it out. They have over 18 million members. They've saved those 18 million members over $2 billion total. So go check them out. Not using Honey is literally passing up free money. It's free to use and installs in just seconds. Plus, it's backed by PayPal, so you can trust it. Get Honey for free over at joinhoney.com/TAC. That is joinhoney.com/TAC. And now let's move on to this week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
7.2 had some other things as well, including a feature we have been wanting for quite some time, and one I forgot about because Ben Brode taught me at one point that if you made a deck wild and then made it not wild, it would move it to the bottom of your non-wild decks so you could very laboriously shuffle your decks. But deck ordering is here. We can now reorder our deck. All you have to do is just press and hold, and you can just drag them around, put them wherever you want.
Imagine that. We have the technology, Garrett. It's happened.
Listen, if there is one thing doing 365 episodes of The Angry Chicken has taught me, it's that coding for the Hearthstone client is infinitely more difficult than you ever think it is.
I know. I'm just being an ass.
All right, you can do it, Blizzard. I believe in you. Let's get to that observer mode and turn those cards right side up. Come on.
That's got to be next on the list, right?
Come on. Kael'thas is like, it's Kael'thas, like you could be like, it's like, oh, Kael'thas has turned your world upside down, only right side up. That's it. Gravity laps that damn observer mode. This is great, though. This is such a nice quality of life change. I know we're teasing a little bit, but this is great. This is something we've wanted for a really long time. We don't get these types of features very often in Hearthstone. And yeah, it just seems like certain parts of the client are a little harder to program for than others. So this type of quality of life stuff, it's a big deal when it shows up. Like, you remember when we got extra deck slots? It was a huge deal.
It was a huge, huge deal.
And honestly, I feel like we could use a few more. There's a lot of decks right now.
There are. I was thinking that the other day as I was trying to make room for a new deck. And then I was just like, well, I can't delete that. I'm playing it. I can't delete that. I'm playing it. I can't delete that. I'm playing it. Oh my God, I'm out of deck slots. And I don't even play wild. Like, I don't even have wild decks gumming up the works. It's just variants of constructed that I'm trying out.
Yeah. And then if you also have homebrewed decks, or you just like to get weird in there, like, God help you. I don't know how to do it. I'm thankful for the 18 deck slots we eventually got, but I think we can handle it again. Let's make that scroll bar go even further. There are a bunch of...
Well, now that we can rearrange things.
Yeah, and thanks. For some reason, Joss, anytime I hang out with you, Limp Bizkit just gets caught in my head.
Right?
You know, I'm just humming that bass line. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And now anyone under the age of like 30 right now is going, oh my God, Garrett, you fossil. You fossil.
Hey, they were great. They were
the
soundtrack of my high school years.
And our age difference has been reinforced in my mind. There are also a bunch of Zephyrus the Great improvements in this. Not going to go over them all because they were all extremely specific edge case scenarios, but they're all great stuff. Quite a lot of mislethal things were picked out. One of them was Zephyrus with mislethal if there was an enemy taunt minion with lifesteal that you could attack into. For some reason was a blind spot for it. I could also miss lethal using Unleash the Hounds for some reason. I would love little... It's the charge. Why would you? But that
it seems kind of straightforward, but
this brings me to the next point. Is like I kind of want like mini developer diaries for each and every one of these bugs, because like they have to be fascinating little stories about like how Zephyrus is coded. And it's like, oh yeah, turns out Zephyrus just like doesn't like the word hound and didn't know what to do with it. Or I'm sure that wasn't actually what they. Turns out Zephyrus is a cat person. Just didn't want to have a bunch of hounds. Got bit one time. It wasn't a pit bull. It was actually a really angry Chihuahua, but Zephyrus is a little gun shy about dogs. Yeah, but I really would like, they don't do dev comments very often. They pop up every now and then, but I love them. Give me some more. Although I'm sure if I like dug deep enough into Celestalon's Twitter, I'd probably find most of these stories.
That's true. He talks about Zephyrus so much.
Yeah. This is another edge case I love. Zephyrus may now offer polymorph instead of hex in a few cases where it would be better for your opponent to have a 1/1 than a 0/1 with taunt.
Yeah, I thought this one was really cool too. It's something I didn't really think about. Like, you would think that just in general, it's better to give them a minion with no attack. But I mean, sometimes that taunt is a big deal and might, stop you from a lethal the next turn or something like that. So exactly, yeah, right? No, this is great.
Yeah, there's a lot of
this is the next level kind of like Zephyrus thinking that it would have expected off his card text, right? The perfect card would absolutely think about a case like this.
Yeah, and apparently Swipe was being looked at by Zephyrus as single target damage and wasn't considering the AoE of it, but it now fills the AoE category instead of single target damage if Zephyrus expects it to be used against the enemy hero.
Okay.
I love that that's part of the calculation is like, is Zephyrus assuming what you're going to do with it? Mm-hmm. Which now I want a voice line for Zephyrus when you don't do what Zephyrus expects you to do with the cards that it offers. Like if Zephyrus is like, oh, you should go face a swipe, and then you hit a mini with it, Zephyrus should go, oh, you missed lethal, bro.
Yeah, I would definitely like something along those lines. Like, that is not what I would have done.
No, just, you know what it does? It just goes, wow.
Okay, I like wow. Let's go with that.
Wow.
Wow.
Just very breathy for no reason whatsoever. Yeah, so there were some other improvements as well. Card text for Terran Gorefiend was updated to be more technically accurate, which I'm sorry, I just have to give a little gruff here. Since when is Team 5 interested in technically accurate card text? When, Jocelyn?
Like never.
And now reads, destroy all other friendly minions, death rattle, resummon them with +1/+1. I honestly don't remember what it used to say and should have looked it up before the show.
I thought the same thing. I was just like, yeah, that's how it works. What changed?
Well, clearly they did their job then.
Clearly so, yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah. And there was like some other undocumented things in here. I think Leroy got a new animation, and I think Illidan got some new voice lines, and these were undocumented.
Yeah, I think
Light Knight in the chat room was letting us know earlier.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, no, the Illidan changes, I'm so happy. Like, you needed more.
Oh, he's such
he
a
talks
deep well.
so much.
Oh yeah, you just want him chewing scenery. It's
alas,
so good.
poor warlock. Shut up.
Demons. That's my favorite one. It's without a doubt my favorite one. Anytime I'm mad at losing to a demon hunter, I just think of that line. I'm like, he's a cheeky bastard. And he loves it. But let's check in on Grandmasters before we keep chugging along here, because we're a full week into the 4 total weeks of round robin before we get to playoffs and relegation matches. We're now in the middle. We're now in week 2, and it's going. It's really early on, so the standings are like a little odd. Like you can go over to the standings page and you're like, oh my God, X player's at the bottom and this player's at the bottom. But like also there's 7 weeks for this in total, right? And it's round robin. Oh wait, no, but the round robin's only 4 weeks.
Yeah, round robin's 4 weeks.
It's 7. Everyone's going to play 7 games or 7 matches.
Yes, because they play everyone in their division once. So 3 of the weeks they play twice. 1 week they only play once.
Exactly. And so this is only the first week. So there's always going to be uneven numbers of games played until this is all said and done. But it makes it like particularly wonky here at the very beginning because we have a lot of players tied for first and last place. But some of them have played once, right? So it's a little out of whack, and it's going to constantly have this pseudo imbalance leading all the way up. But as more games get played, the story will develop, and we'll start noticing very quickly who's at serious risk and who isn't.
Mm-hmm. I'm a little worried about, in NA at least, I'm a little worried about Monsanto. I really like him, but he has no wins, and he's played 2 games now, so I was kind of hoping he'd split, like go even on the week, but yeah, nope.
Yeah, and like and vice versa, you're looking at like Nalgadan and Eddie, and it's like they've only played once, even though they have 0 wins, but it's like that's not as dire as Monsanto's situation.
But he is also in Division A, which is the people who finished the best in the first 3 weeks, which were the 3 different types of competitions with the Swiss rounds and everything else. So Division A is a good place to be in. Division B, on the other hand, not a great place to be in, because at the end of these 4 weeks, so 3 weeks from now, we will have people relegated straight out of Division B that could possibly even be purple, which is kind of crazy because, he's been around forever. And I would be quite surprised if he ended up being up for relegation, but maybe he just wants to stream. I don't know.
Purple called me a boomer at the summit. It was very funny in context.
I'm sure.
We were exchanging podcast/stream best practices, and I was trying to explain how podcasts work. And he's like, you're like an internet boomer. It's like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Purple. You're not wrong. I would be really surprised. But again, it's early.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a lot of time, a lot of games to be played. So I'm not particularly worried for anyone just yet.
Right.
Just yet. So, yeah, I got to play, everyone once. So we'll see how this shakes out as it goes along. So it's more interesting, and I know I asked for this. Like, I wanted more shakeups and more relegation, but now I'm just like, I like all of these players. I don't really
That's one thing that I've noticed in this season of Grandmasters. Now that we've had a couple of seasons, now that we've had some relegations and some people playing in through the Masters Tour, there are a lot of big name players. There are a lot of very good players, and I'm really enjoying watching Grandmasters now. And I think that it's getting a lot closer to the whole pinnacle of Hearthstone competition that they were kind of branding it as at the get-go. And it's moving more that way, like away from the personalities and towards the players. And I think that that's better if they want it to be about the competition. So I think that there's a lot of really good players. Like I looked at like NAEU, like APAC, like just the people in Grandmasters right now are really, really good players, to the point that I'm not even 100% sure who to root for, because I'm used to them being in this pool of like 300 people where I'm like, okay, I'll pick out a couple of you guys from this big, huge, giant tournament. But now I'm like, oh my God, I like literally the best of the best. I don't know who to root for. Like, I'm always going to go for my Canadians over everybody else in NA. I'm sorry, but it's just going to happen. So, but outside of that, like, I don't know who to cheer for. They're all so good.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about it when Grandmasters was announced, and I think you and I both had our issues with kind of the invite system. Mm-hmm. And I think we eventually circled back around to like, whatever, at some point they needed to get this off the ground. It also came off the back of the majority of the esports division for Hearthstone not being around anymore.
Yeah.
Because that was right after the layoff. So like there was so much into it. And so that's kind of where I ended up, which is like, they just need to get it off the ground at some point. They need to make sure that people actually tune in. This is a way to do it. I didn't necessarily think it was the best way to do it, but after relegations and everything, yeah, I'm with you. I think we've kind of arrived at a really competitive system here. And here in year 2, like I'm happy with Hearthstone esports. I think they've more or less nestled in to a system and a format that works. And it's nice. Let's get comfortable with this, shall we? Let's keep it going. Let's not upset the apple cart in 2021.
I feel like I'd like it to happen more often. I feel like we had a really big, long gap well, it was like 6 months, right? Because Blitzchung played in October and then got his 6-month ban and played in the next season. So there was 6 months of no esports time. So I would really like to see, 3, maybe 4 times a year that we get these Grandmaster tournaments.
I kind of liked the break. This isn't, I don't think I've ever talked about it here, but it's something I have mentioned. Like, I think I used to mention back on, like, this is going way back to my very first podcast, StarCast, when we used to talk a lot about StarCraft esports. It was just nonstop. It was nonstop onslaught of esports. Now,
yeah, that's what I want.
A lot of it was because like this is even like pre-WCS, which now is post-WCS because that doesn't exist anymore. But it wasn't all under one roof. You had IEM and you had NASL and you had GSL and you had all these disparate, unrelated tours going on, put on by different production houses. So it just never ended. But you basically had the same players in almost all of them, with like main exception being Korea, because a lot of foreigners, which is like a loose term we use in StarCraft esports, just because Korean players are so dominant, they just couldn't hang in the Korean leagues. And I was just like, man, I kind of wish it was more like baseball or football or hockey, like where it was a more like kind of like it was a lot more in a shorter amount of time.
You think you're going to get me by saying hockey, Garrett, but I'm not going to fall for it.
This isn't me trying to placate the Canadian audience. Listen. I'm sorry. My team is better than yours. So go Tampa Bay Lightning.
Well, I mean, yeah, my team is the Leafs. So
I mean, I realize
that is never an argument I'm going to win. Which team is better than Joce's?
Yeah, but it should really hurt coming from the state that doesn't even know what ice is. So, anyways, I rather enjoyed the break because I really started to miss Hearthstone esports, and I don't think I've ever missed Hearthstone esports because it never let me miss it. I very much was going to Hearthstone esports and going, how can I miss you if you never leave?
See, and now what I would like to see is like a big, huge pool tournament like the Masters Tour, and then have the like a Grandmasters season, and then another Masters Tour, and then a Grandmaster season, and a Masters Tour, and a Grandmaster season, so that you kind of like get that through line going, and you can kind of see. And I mean, however much space they want to put, if they want to put a month off or 2 months off in between each of those cycles, but I'd kind of like to see something like that happen so that you can let the stories develop a little bit better, and you can, you know, recognize, be like, oh yeah, I just saw that guy play last month and now he's, you know, qualified for Grandmasters next season, and you know, like he's did well at Masters Tour and now here he is. Like you can kind of draw those lines and conclusions a whole lot better than like, oh wait, what did he do 6 months ago? Oh yeah, right, that guy. Okay. It just like with the big huge break like that, it's just, I think it's too much. So I'd rather see them do like Masters Tour, even if they bookended Grandmasters with a Masters Tour event. So you kind of like go Masters Tour, Grandmasters, Masters Tour, break, Masters Tour, Grandmasters, Masters Tour, break. That would be fine too.
I mean, that'd be sweet.
Because I want to see the players get a story, right?
Yeah. I was talking more about like the break at the, like from the end of like the finals to the beginning of everything the next year. I liked having the break. It doesn't need to be 6 months, but I liked having a sizable amount of time in between like the top tier Hearthstone esports. Feel free to fill the break with some freaking more Battlegrounds, like show tournaments. That was fun as hell. I want more of that. So like there's I think a lot. I
can't wait until we get the 8 lobby Battlegrounds and we can start having like proper Battlegrounds like tournaments.
Oh, that'd be so good. And mic them up. I want to hear everyone get salty. Just be like, oh, F you, Bob. Of course. All I needed was 1 triple. Was it last week when you were spectating me and I spent 30 gold across 3 turns trying to find 1 Toxfin for my 2?
Yes. Yes.
What is it? The mackerels? Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was cussing the paint off the walls. Had to repaint the office this weekend because it was so salty in here.
Yeah, that was really ridiculous though.
Yeah, it'd be really cool to see that. But anyway, back to Grandmasters. Loving it early on into the round robin. More on it as we progress. Also, I normally wouldn't promote this sort of stuff, but I'm stoked as hell about this. There's going to be an art stream, Jocelyn, starting on Monday next week. Senior concept artist Luke Mancini is going to stream. Mancini is going to stream the entire card back creation process live on twitch.tv/play Hearthstone. And I believe Hadija is also going to be stopping by. I love this. This is exactly the type of content I want to see.
Yeah. And I mean, so I actually knew this artist because he does a lot of work for like WoW concept art too. And so he's, I think, Mr. Jack on Twitter and Instagram and stuff. And he is fan-freaking-tastic. Like, I don't pay a lot of attention to art stuff. Like, it's definitely Garrett's wheelhouse, not mine. But Luke is just, man, his stuff is so good. I've been like following him specifically in his stuff like since the early 2010s. He's like the only artist in Blizzard that I pay very specific attention to.
So this is going to be lost on the audio audience, so I apologize. But for the video audience, hey, Jocelyn, here is my Wings of Liberty StarCraft 2 art book, which I had signed at the very first BlizzCon I ever attended. This is one of my most prized Blizzard possessions. And right there at the top is Mr. Jack's signature. Yeah, Samwise at the bear, got a little Glen Rain.
Damn.
That was back when I didn't have to do something that like I would refer to as a job when I'm at BlizzCon. I just got to run around and be a total dork, which I'm still a dork, and I'm still a dork at BlizzCon, but I'm a dork that has to do some work stuff when I'm at BlizzCon. So yeah, oh my God, I just ran around the whole weekend just like meeting every artist and getting signatures and being a total dork. So yeah, I'm stoked that Mr. Jack is going to be streaming this. That's really freaking cool. So it's going to be a 3-day stream. Monday will be the concept stream. Wednesday will be progress, and Thursday will be finalizing the art. So
This is a really cool thing that they're doing. I mean, so often we see them doing just like the card reveals or, tournaments and gameplay and stuff. But this is so interesting to me. I'm really looking forward to. I feel like this is the kind of thing I'm just gonna like put on in the background and watch while I'm working, and it's gonna be so good.
I love the art panels at BlizzCon, and I don't really have time to go see them anymore. But they still some of my favorite content that come out of it. So go watch it, folks. The Blizzard's full of such insanely talented artists, and Mr. Jack's one of my favorite. So go check it out because I want them to do more of these. So do it for me, if for no other reason. All right, let's take an email or two and bring it home.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. If you're a patron, drop it right in the patron Discord. Ben wrote in and said, hello. For about the last week, I feel like all I've done is lose. I feel like I need some really somber music here. I struggled to find a deck I liked in this current expansion cycle, and I eventually landed on Highlander Hunter. It's the first class I fell in love with, and it's never let me down. My goal for the month was to go for the gold rank. I'm currently at Silver 9 after I got to Silver 7. However, it feels like no matter what deck I play, I'm just getting wrecked by aggro as I struggle with a random hiccup. What was that? I apologize, everyone. Demon Hunter, Warrior Zoo, hell, I even got aggroed by a Res Priest. Eventually said screw it and switched to Res Priest for a more controlled deck. I would caution against that if you're seeing a lot of aggro. First game I played was against a Quest Priest and eventually ran out of steam and lost that game. Oh, Quest Priest is long in the tooth, man. I've tried playing funner decks like Libram Paladin or Totem Shaman, and I'm just running into the same problem. I've even been playing Battlegrounds because losing feels less bad there, but every game I played this week has been a loss there as well.
I feel so bad for Ben. I hope he considers having an email read on the Angry Chicken as a win.
I really sympathize with you, Ben. I had a week like this just last week. I haven't felt this much losing fatigue since Mean Streets and facing nothing but Control Paladin. God, oh my God, I'm getting like flashbacks. I know I'm not at a high rank or whatever, and it feels weird complaining about aggro from a hunter player, but losing just doesn't feel good right now. Any advice on how to overcome this grotesque hump of losing would be great. I really just want to first off say you are not alone. I have had a horrible time basically since Outland released. I just this week pulled out of essentially a nosedive. I did really good when the ladder hit, but this was before Ashes of Outland came out, so I had my Dragon Hunter like perfectly dialed in when the new ladder came out, and I just straight to Diamond. No problem, no fuss. But then Ashes of Outland hit. It was just a shit show for me, basically, since it came out. And I just pulled out of it, and I think it was on last week's, or maybe it was 2 weeks episodes ago, when both you and I, Joss, were talking about how we were having a hard time on ladder. I mentioned Orange's tweet from a couple weeks ago where he was like, I've got a 50% win rate. If you feel bad about your win rate right now, you shouldn't. It is tough out there. And I think it'd be even tougher because more people are getting Legend than ever have before. It's been like proven. There's a PC Gamer article about it right now. And
well, more people got it last month. I'm more interested to see if that trend continues because, I mean, last month, not only was it a complete ladder revamp, but then on top of that, we had a new class introduced for the first time since the game launched. So I feel like there was just a lot more interest and a lot more people playing. I don't necessarily know if that's like a reflection on the ladder or how it's going to be forever, or, I'm more interested to see what our Legend numbers look like at the end of this month. I think that's, this month and kind of going forward.
And there were days where you could have just slammed Demon Hunter blindly and probably eventually gotten there.
Yeah.
Although you've probably been running into a lot of other Demon Hunters. So anyways, first off, Ben, you're not alone. It does sound like you've been deck hopping a lot, which I always caution against. I, too, myself have fallen into that trap. If what you want to do is climb, if you want to learn other decks, which I recommend doing, actually, switch decks to learn. don't switch decks to climb. I think it's really important to go and play other decks, especially decks that you are going up against, which sounds like you're not necessarily doing, or if you did, you didn't list it here. But try those decks, like especially Warrior, because the new Egg Warrior, which is popular as hell, really solid win rate, has like taken over Grandmasters. It's a really good pick. You're gonna start seeing it. It's still not. It's nowhere near your demon hunters in terms of popularity, but you are going to run into on ladders. So
I do think the warrior deck is a little bit harder to pilot. Like the warrior deck, and actually you're saying that you're at silver 9 right now, so you're almost at a rank floor, which is actually a really great time to learn, right? Because you don't have to worry about losing when you're down at silver 10 because you can't go any further. So I think if you just kind of like sit there and try to find something that you enjoy playing, if it's something that you want to try to climb with, try to find something you enjoy playing and try to find something that that works really well, and take the time at a rank floor and sit and learn it, and don't worry about the wins and losses, because Garrett's totally right. Like changing decks all the time is not going to work well for you, because you're not going to get good with anything, right? You're just going to be kind of okay at everything, and kind of okay doesn't really seem to be cutting it on a ladder where you're constantly being matched against people at either your rank or your MMR. So
yeah. I can tell you exactly how I pulled out of it, and I can even recommend a deck for you since you like Hunter. First off, Highlander Hunter is the top deck right now statistically over at HS Replay, like overall. So I would recommend, consider sticking with it. Like log more games. If you have a practice partner and you have problematic matchups, practice against those matchups. Otherwise, just keep playing games. But I personally think Dragon Hunter is better for ladder climbing. I think it has better matchups for the more popular decks that are being played. Highlander Hunter is a little unfavored in the Demon Hunter matchup, as they're not nearly as bad as they used to be, but they are still extremely popular, and you are going to run into Demon Hunter. So I personally am staying the hell away from anything that isn't in the green in matchups against Demon Hunter. So I very recently went back to Dragon Hunter. It has changed post Ashes of Outland. You started to talk about this with Vigil, I believe, forever ago, right? No. God, that was so long ago. It was OG Dragon Hunter. Well, OG. It was pre Ashes of Outland Dragon Hunter.
Yeah, it was.
So post Ashes of Outland. This is what I'm confused, because Vigil was the one who brought to my attention Scavenger's Ingenuity, Stone Tusk Boar. Like he was the first person that made me aware that hunters were doing this and that it was like totally working. So the new Dragon Hunter has gotten rid of was it the big old whelp? What's the fat whelp? Forget.
Yeah.
I got rid of that. So it's got Scavenger's Ingenuity in it now. It's got Stone Tusk Boar in it now. And other than that, it's more or less the same. The most popular version is not running a freezing trap. And it's also running Imprisoned Felmaw, which I'm just going to say it now. I was so wrong about Dormant. Like, my God, Dormant just gets shit done. It's ridiculous. But this deck has done wonders for me. I did have one pretty bad loss streak with it kind of in the middle of my win streaks. But yesterday and this is the second thing I would say. So first off, I would like hard recommend to you, and I usually don't like doing this. I usually say, find out what you like and go look at stats. You like Hunter, try Dragon Hunter, try the most popular Dragon Hunter list. And if you're not running Deck Tracker, run Deck Tracker. And here's what you should do. Go to stats in Deck Tracker and pull up like games played and set your filter to today and just keep that open. Don't look at anything else. Just keep it open and stop playing when the game's played. Say 15. Just make 15 games your goal, and just you're no longer worried about wins and losses. You're just trying to play Hearthstone to the best of your ability, and you're trying to get 15 games in for the day. I started doing that because I get really tilted, y'all. I get really freaking tilted in Hearthstone, and I get really tilted right now because, to get slightly off topic, I think there's a lot of RNG in the current meta, and I don't like RNG heavy metas. This meta, really makes me angry. Like, this is a meta that is built to tilt me. Built to tilt.
Which,
Jocelyn.
like, I'm sitting there going, puzzle box, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. And I'm even part of the problem. I've spent most of this season playing Galakond Rogue, and it generates so much random BS that half the times I'm not winning because of cards that I put in my deck. So I'm, part of the problem. And as I mentioned last week, I think Mage is one of the most fun to play decks right now, possibly ever. But I hate playing against it. I cannot stand it. It is such a tilting experience for me right now. So, but that's my little aside. That's my personal thing. But like, I feel you, Ben. I feel you. So just make it about logging games. And it doesn't have to be 15. 15 is what I did. You could be 10. Whatever number works for you. Whatever you think you could.
And especially, I think, I think the Highlander Hunter specifically, or if you're going to be going with any Highlander deck, usually has the most space for tweaking. So if you find that you are running up against a lot of aggro, then maybe look at a couple of those. Maybe you've got some like big minion removal or something, and maybe change that to, a targeted spell that does 2 to 3 damage. So you can deal with a very, very early threat from your opponent. Maybe try to tech in some healing, take your deck a little bit more to the extreme in terms of trying to deal with the thing that you're seeing most often. So you probably have 2 to 3 slots in a Highlander deck that are really, really flexible. So just kind of make sure that you keep your win condition, your card draw, like still do what you want to do, but you might have some flexibility in there to add some, AoE or add some targeted removal or some healing, something to help you kind of get over that initial hump against aggro decks that you're facing.
Yeah. What Josh said. Yeah. And then Egg Warrior, Temple Warrior, whatever you want to call it, is considered by many to be the best deck in the game right now. So if you're up for a challenge of learning a more obtuse deck that kind of goes against the Hearthstone you probably are used to, you could just set it as I smack. I'm sorry, I've been reorganizing the office and there's a filing cabinet right next to me. But give Egg Warrior a look as well, because if you play it right, it is oppressive. So that'd be my other. But you like Hunter, just give the new Dragon Hunter a look. And other than that, even if you're not into teching, you can go look up variants on Highlander Hunter, see what different lists there are and how they're different from yours. So best of luck out there, Ben, and definitely let us know how it goes. Tweet at us, Tech Podcast, Garrett Art, Joss Plays. I want to know how this goes for you, Ben. Who's our final email from today, Jocelyn? Who's bringing us home?
This one comes to us from King Dupless, who wrote us over in the TAC Patron Discord. Says, greetings, combative chickens. I've played a lot of Battlegrounds since November, over 150 hours, and still going this far. I've noticed that in that time, there are a lot of runs that just start off bad due to no error on your part. Just a bad offering of the early minions, bad attacks, or you get paired up against AFK on turn 3, etc. I've seen this happen a lot when it happens. It's almost like you start the game at 28 HP or less. Starting, air quotes, with that low HP basically means you don't have time to find and assemble a comp that's capable of winning, getting 4th place or higher, especially if your foul luck continues. So I got to thinking, he spelt it foul like chicken, guys, in case you're wondering why I got so giggly.
They all got it.
Okay, in case. I just want to make sure. They can't see what I'm reading, so they might not get the pun. I got to thinking, what if you had just a bit more HP going into late game? What if you basically took 1 less damage on each loss? That early bad luck streak, losing 3 or 4 rounds, adds up to an extra 3 or 4 HP in this proposed change, which could make a big difference in the mid game. My idea is that they reduce the damage each tavern tier would do. So a hero whose tavern tier is 1 right now does 1 plus the rank of all the remaining minions. In this idea, they do 0 plus their remaining minions. Tavern tier 2 would deal 1 plus the minions, 3 would deal 2 plus minions, etc. Basically, the idea is reduce the punishment for the early game losses when you don't have much control over, but not really impact damage you take in the late game by too much, so you can still knock players out and get knocked out. I definitely feel ya. There's not a whole lot of flexibility in the very early game, but to me, I feel like I don't mind necessarily taking damage in the early game. What super tilts me is the stuff that randomly pops out of other minions. So, like stuff that comes out of the snake dude.
Gas coiler.
Gas coiler, thank you. You knew what I meant by snake dude.
Gas coiler, Imp Mama, Sneed Shredder, any of the Shredders.
Yeah, the Shredders. Yeah, the Shredders for sure. Anything that pops out something that isn't considered a token, I really wish that anything that came out of any of the minions was just considered a token, because I feel like there's a lot of times where I'm taking big chunks of damage through, like, there's like random and then there's like super random. So if you know, like a gas coiler drops 2 other 6 drops or something, and then all of a sudden I'm taking 12 from things that the other player didn't even draft. I'm like, that's where I get tilted about the amount of damage people are dealing. I wish it was like, if it's a generated minion, it will deal 1 damage, because then you're not punished as hard potentially by randomness in the late game, which then, you know, kind of goes hand in hand with this, like, oh, I don't have enough HP to live through some of those turns. It's like, well, if they were dealing 1 damage instead of 5 or 6, then it's kind of another solution to the same problem.
I don't think it's a problem, and I really like the game lengths, and I don't want Battlegrounds to go as long as competing auto battlers.
I like basically I like that it takes me about 20 to 25 minutes if I'm gonna come first. If I'm gonna be out, I'm out quick. And I kind of like that. I don't want to end up in a 40-minute kind of scenario.
Right.
Hi, buddy.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not even that, like, I've been tilted by random pops for sure, but it's pretty few and far between. I've laughed in like a total jerkwad too in the face of some of the worst RNG I've ever seen come out of those. And it's not always mine. So the fact that I'm even remembering bad RNG on the side of my opponent, like, that tells you something, because I only remember when my opponents get lucky. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, what Dupless is suggesting here is a really interesting way to tune it. I like that this goes beyond just like, give us more health, put Patchwork back to 60 and put the rest of us to 50. Like, I like the idea of like Tappateers just doing 1 less damage. This is kind of cool. And maybe hell, try it. You know, I really like it. They don't go in and out like very often. They're kind of here to stay for a very long period of time in Heroes of the Storm, but they're now doing a thing called anomalies, where they add an anomaly, and it's kind of this kind of almost system level change that changes a large kind of sweeping portion of the game, regardless of what hero you're playing or what battleground you're on, over in Heroes of the Storm. So it'd be cool if Battlegrounds had anomalies on top of just new heroes and new minions. And like, maybe this could be one of them, where it's like, all right, well, like, maybe they start doing Battleground seasons, you know, who knows whether it's a month.
Oh, and then they could have like seasonal affixes like Mythic Plus does in WoW.
You're picking up what I'm laying down, and I like it. Yeah, like, that'd be kind of cool. And you know, maybe I could be wrong, right? Like, this might not make games last that much longer. Like, if it makes games last like an extra turn or 2, does that really matter? Because you might get knocked out anyway, and if you go 1 or 2 longer, you have a better chance. Like, I don't know. It might not be as bad as I think. It's just that I really like the game lengths right now. So if this did end up hurting it and they started going longer, like closer to something like Auto Chess or TFT, I'd be like, I kind of want this. Is why I play Battlegrounds. Part of the reason I play Battlegrounds. But it's an interesting thought for sure, King Dupless. I like that quite a bit. But Joce is just crazy. You leave Gas Coiler alone. You're not even like close to
Gas Coiler. It's not Gas Coiler. I just want the minions that he spits out to not hit me for 6.
It's part of the reason. That's like basically the only reason you're taking Gas Coiler, is like hoping you kill them, because like otherwise it's like not even close to like some of the bigger offenders at tier 6 in terms of power level. Right? You know what tilts me right now? Mother effers finding Caligos at points in the game that I don't even understand how it's happening. I don't know. You Zephyrus drafted pieces. Or not Zephyrus, Shifters.
Yeah.
Xeris, not
Shifter,
Zephyrus.
dude. Yeah.
Oh, you Xeris mother effers. I'm so sick of
I
you.
have started taking Shifter every time I see him, just in case.
Like, That's right up there with just blindly drafting. It makes me so mad because I know that player. That player goes, well, I'm just going to take Xeris and hope everything works out. And it worked out. Good for you. Yep. It's the same thing with Murlocs. Just like,
were you in my living room today?
Well, that's a terrible Jocelyn impression then, if that's what I was just doing. Oh, but it's the same thing with Murlocs, man. It's just, I see him. I see him because I run into him 2 or 3 times over the course of the game. It's like, oh, you're still Murlocs. I'm kicking your ass because of course I am. You can't draft Murlocs all game and expect to win. And then I hit him for the 4th time. It's like, oh, their Murlocs are 100, 125 with poisonous and blow your house up.
Obviously.
They hit me so hard I get audited. I hate it. So sick of Murlocs, Joss.
I can tell. I can tell.
3 second places. 3 Battlegrounds in a row, all of them lost to Murlocs with Bran. You're just
It'll be okay, Garrett. We're gonna get through this.
And I love Murlocs. I love them. I love those little fish people. But well, anyways, before we go full Pirates of the Caribbean and blame the fish people, I'm going to bring this show to an end. Keep the emails coming, everybody. tacpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you again if you're supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. If you're not, but you like the show and you want to support us, that's the best way to do so. Go check it out. Get all kinds of perks like access to the Discord and an ad-free version of the show. And also a huge thanks to our producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. If you'd like to be a producer of The Angry Chicken, well, check out patreon.com/TAC. Other than that, amove.tv has every episode of TAC ever, plus some other great podcasts you can go and check out. But before we leave, Jocelyn, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. That's the best way to find out all the stuff I'm up to.
Sweet. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. As I already mentioned, AMOVE TV for everything else. For a new episode of Let's Talk About Star Wars is out. If you're a Clone Wars fan and want to hear our thoughts on the finale, spoilers alert on that spoiler show. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Nice.
So, but go check that out. Plenty of other great shows to listen to. Until next time, everybody, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's right. Done. I'm going over to the
that was Thrall.
Little Thrall Paul. I'm going to the template right now, and I'm going to change the day and the time in the damn shit. Gotta get past all of the sponsors.
Yeah, right there.
Good problems to have. Wait, what? I copied this and I just pasted it and it says Tuesday. What? What happened? How did that even happen? I don't even know how that happened. I don't even know how it happened, but it's gone now. We did it. It's all taken care of. We're all fine. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I smell some kind of dinner being made. That's exciting.
I hear the rustling of freshly purchased groceries in the kitchen.
Ooh.
I'm very excited. All right, chat room. I'm going to bring the stream down as I burp.
Nice.
Thank you for hanging out. Y'all were great. And we'll talk to you all very, very soon. Bye now.